Oh, yeah. Backstage Cash with myself, Crystal Precious, and my fabulous guest today, Adrian Sinclair, who's one of my favorite people in the entire universe. He is a freestyler. You are the co-founder of Sauna Sessions, which is a very exciting and long-standing East Vancouver, I'm going to say establishment, but it's actually several establishments.
Yes.
As well as the co-founder and director of engagement for Vancouver Mural Festival. No big deal. I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you very much.
It's so cool to be here. This is really exciting. I can't believe that I'm number 2 on your guest list.
You're number 2.
That's so exciting.
Well, I have to apologize a little bit for the fact that there is an unexpected Christmas party that's sort of semi-raging in the back. It's definitely of the Office variety, I feel. Like there's a lot of speeches. There could be some raffles that are going to happen.
Yeah, I think people probably got the sort of employee most likely to, something ...
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I was about to say something, then I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't actually know what it's like what employees get these days.
When was the last time you were an employee?
I don't know. I mean, I guess I technically am.
Right.
I unfortunately, I was like, we should found a crazy festival. Then we made a nonprofit, which then means that you end up being an employee.
Okay.
So it's confusing. So yes, I work at Mural Festival and we started it. So
right.
Yeah, it's an interesting mix, and we'll get to that because this is Backstage Cash.
This is Backstage Cash.
I'm already getting to the point.
You're getting to the point, which is we're going to talk about business.
That's right.
And art and money. And when it comes to Vancouver, the Vancouver Mural Festival is serious business.
Yeah,
serious art and serious business. You've covered it. You've covered them both.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I can't believe, actually, I just found out about this City of Vancouver officially approving this new special events license, that special arts and culture events license, which I actually thought existed already. So this is for pop-up spaces, or basically any space that's not a kind of a licensed nightclub, like a primary liquor licensed nightclub, to be able to have pop-up events. And for a lot of us who run these studio spaces where artists, work and play and socialize, we really rely on, afternoon office parties in order to afford microphones and unbreakable mugs. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But I didn't know that it was actually a thing that had been passed, because usually it was three events. Basically, they figured out the exact amount
6, I think now.
It's 6 now.
Yeah, I think it's 6. Yeah.
Which is still kind of with inflation, that's still really on the cusp.
It's basically 4.5. Because I remember when I distinctly remember when Dollhouse you guys were petitioning the city to be can we just make a living doing this work, creating arts and culture? And they're like, I don't know. And you're like, well, we do provide meaning, cultural memory, and escape from the drudgery.
Yeah, and places where women tend not to get sexually assaulted. That was a mission as well.
Right. And so I remember that a lot of people don't know that Dollhouse was instrumental in the first, before there was even any cultural license or pop-up thing, because basically you guys went around with I remember did email
Sorry.
Yeah.
No. Everyone was helpful, but carry on.
Yeah, there was I remember you convening all these different meetings and bringing the whole scene together, and actually stepping out of the underground and being we're going to have meetings with the city, and they're who are you people?
Yeah.
And you guys actually got the idea going there at the beginning, and then people were I mean now I was talking to my crew that I've been talking to recently, and they're yeah, the arts events license, it's 6 now, and it was 3 before, and before it was 0, guys.
It was 0.
It was 0.
I actually have that paper.
And that's 2006, basically. It was 0.
Yeah. I can't believe that you're bringing this up and that you remember this. This is why thank you for reminding me, because I remember getting the paper that actually said you are now allowed, because it was
you showed me the paper.
Yes, I did. I have it. I have it somewhere.
The paper.
I was I'm going to buy a frame, and then I got distracted.
Yeah,
forgot.
It's PDFs now. So.
Yeah. But before, what it was that if they decided arbitrarily that they wanted to shut you down, they just could.
Yep. Yeah, I remember there was a lot of pressure from existing bar owners.
Yes.
To disallow what they saw as competition, which is hilarious.
Because there's no way.
You were in Mount Pleasant like you're directly competing with Granville Street? I don't
Absolutely
think so.
not.
Like the clientele didn't even mix at all.
Well, and when I was doing, some research for like the last venue, the ballroom, which we talked about a little bit in the last episode, which is now, RIP. Well, it's actually now sort of adjacent to an Irish bar. They're going to use it. It's great, whatever. It's not being ignored. But there was a lot of research that suggested that, most locals, like we're not like people who live in Vancouver who are like arts and culture workers or people who are partying and not raising families and working all the professional jobs that require early mornings, like they don't live downtown.
Right.
So there's a lot of people who are coming in from they're tourists or they're coming in from the suburbs and they're the ones who are partying on Granville Street. Like most of us we don't want to, like, it's hard to afford cabs and the SkyTrain ends at 1, right? So I mean, when I was a burlesque dancer, like when I was like a full-time burlesque dancer and I was doing up and down, like I used to do all those Granville bars, right? And like I actually moved downtown and I was like, wow, I'm saving so much money on cab fare.
Wow, yeah, totally. Oh, that's funny, actually.
Yeah, I know. Well, thank you for like acknowledging that. I mean, I really appreciate that.
People don't know. Like, guys, everyone out there in podcast land, she did not slip me this information before. I just remember. I mean, it's a lot of people don't realize like how much has been done in the early 2000s to pave the way for even what is still a restrictive policy environment. Like there's this being constant grinding on like whoever is an administrator in public art and like public events. Yeah. Like the fact there's like all these pop-up like things that are happening, like, and they're not being shut down.
No, that's
in the
crazy.
middle in the broad daylight.
Yeah,
like back just 10 years ago, you wouldn't be able to do that at night. Let
no,
alone
I
broad
know.
Daylight.
I could I was
shut down.
I know it was fabulous. I mean, I remember that there was like a whole part where there was like sort of a political indignancy. At one point around, especially like the gay scene, like at the queer scene. Yeah. And then that seemed to kind of translate. And I was like, oh, look at this. People are afraid of being politically incorrect. Of course, like, I was just like a half naked drunk girl, like falling on the concrete.
Come on. Who practice like every day on your craft. But yeah, other than that, just like
it was fun. I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that I do feel now that there's a conversation and a language around what we do in nightlife that didn't exist back then. Like back then, it really felt like we were being treated kind of like the weird 13-year-old kids when our parents were out of town. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was like, I'm an actual grown-ass adult. And then you were like, we're just going to start throwing the biggest parties in the city and get them to pay for it. And it's going to be effing amazing.
Yeah, like permission's a funny thing. Like, I think a lot of people make the mistake, which is understandable, to look at regulations and rules as if they're not made by people. So people really focus on getting angry at the people about the regulations. But actually, it's more like you need to actually meet the people where they're at, understand like what their motivations are and how they're evaluated in their job, and then understand a way to like make their job like better for them. Okay. So it's like, for example, like a bureaucrat, like, it's like people like, oh, bureaucrats, they're so blah. It's like, no, like that's a job. Yes. And what they do is their main thing is integrity and accountability to a set of policy requirements for their thing that they govern. Right. And they report to a bunch of people above them. And you really only interact with people who have no decision-making power. So it's so much like, when people like yell at servers, and you're like, don't be a bitch. Like, don't be mean to these servers. No. Like, be nice. Yeah. Like, it's the same thing when people are mean and disrespectful to bureaucrats who are at a lower level. Yes. They're basically just doing the best they can. Yeah. They wake up in the morning and they're like, maybe I can help. They work in the arts and maybe they can help you.
Yeah, like I'm just
So what you do is you find a way to make their job awesome. So you're like, how are you evaluated in your job? You find out that. Wow. And they work for you then. They're like, because they feel respected because they're people. Yes. And they want to do well in their job and provide for their family and pay rent.
So you're basically like you're relating to them and you're kind of getting into where they're coming from. So you're remembering that it's not an us against them situation.
It never
like
is.
It never is, right? Like this is the thing, is that I don't think that these regulations were made in a time where people were it was an economy in which we would need to sell alcohol a bunch of bazillion times.
No, like let's sell something that like basically makes consent harder. You know, it's like, oh, that's not. We're only doing that because it has extremely high profit margin.
Exactly.
And you can buy it from the store and not have to buy wholesale, so that you can actually sell it and resell it.
Although, you know, the research suggests, and I'm sure you know about this too, because you're the hottest kind of nerd, like I think I am. But the kids are drinking 20% less these days.
You bet.
So our sustainable, you know, backup plan is no longer the cash cow that it used to be.
No, it's true. It puts pressure on like existing business models for sure. But what's really cool is actually this sober curious crowd is kind of awesome.
Oh, they're so awesome.
Because they're like, could we still spend a lot of money on drinks that actually has no alcohol in it?
Yeah.
And you're like, yes.
And also, okay,
so that's coming. So that's kind of exciting.
I want to talk about because you're talking about regulation and permission. So Vancouver Mural Festival, you know, came in. How long has it been around now?
We've done 8 mural festivals and 3 winter arts festivals, and then 5 Strathcona street parties, and then a bunch of other festivals like Granville Island and stuff like that.
And they're like these massive, hugely funded, like all over the city, like big public events that are unbelievable. And you know, there's evidence of the mural festival everywhere. And I have to say that I've never seen I've never seen the power of like persuasion or the evidence of persuasion like I did when I went to your smashing event, because like I've talked about this smashing event, like we actually at Dollhouse, this is back in the day, you know, or like, you know, 2006, whatever. I would like start collecting shit because I wanted to have a smashing partner, you know,
Smash Arcade.
Yeah, Smash Arcade. And you know, they have those rage rooms and stuff, but that's like set up and all this kind of shit. Like I just want to smash shit with a sparkly baseball bat. But you know, it's dangerous and it's annoying and it's going to take a million things. And like, not only did you get permission to do this, but then the fun non-drinking crowd was like lining up like across the bar to purchase things to smash, which was brilliant, just like chef's kiss. And I was just like, damn, like people were just like literally going ham on shit and debris flying everywhere. And this is right in the middle, and this is a sanctioned party with alcohol at it.
Yep.
In the city of and in the quote unquote no fun city.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. How do you feel about that? How do you feel? Well, let's. I mean, how was that a difficult thing to do? First of all.
Yes. So as usual, like it's the hard part isn't the idea.
Right.
The hard part is the execution.
Right.
And then the other hard part is getting like internal buy-in from your team that it's going to be okay. You know, so there's like a bunch. So you always have to sell internally before you sell externally. And people a lot of times make the mistake that like get the like external permission or the okay, but then they don't work with their own core people, like their like friends, contractors, and team.
Interesting.
And so what ends up happening is you have to flip that.
Right.
Otherwise it won't work. So that was the hardest part in this one, because our team, like post-pandemic, like everyone, as we know, like social fabric is really damaged.
Yeah.
And then anyone who works in the arts especially are just basically in constant burnout.
Yes.
And so like a new idea, a new thing was like pretty challenging for all of us to like absorb.
Yeah.
But also we need to do a fundraiser, and we didn't want to do a fundraiser. So like, how do we do one when we don't want to do one? We have to do something fun that's like creative and catharsis based.
Yes.
So we're like, let's have an art catharsis is what we thought.
Right.
And so we got the internal, it finally happened. We're like, okay, we're going to do this. And the reason why we could do it is because Britt, our technical director, she's our safety professional. So our technical director, because we've done like 428 murals at this point, basically we put artists who are, you know, like kind of magic.
Yes.
Like we're putting unicorns on heavy machinery.
Yeah.
Is our business plan.
Yes.
So
that is kind of it.
Right? When you put unicorns on heavy machinery, they're kind of like, they're magic. They're like not focusing on the safety.
Yes.
And like they're kind of just focusing on their artwork. And so we're like, well, it's the same premise for the Smash Arcade party. We're like taking people who are maybe had a drink and maybe they're really excited and they're trying to impress their friends. So
they have a weapon.
And we hand them a weapon, and then they smash the thing from the smash tender, and they buy the item, and they go in the back, and there's an announcer. But the key is that...
Oh, the announcer was incredible.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah. We'll get back to him in
anyway,
a minute.
So that's like... the key thing is like, you basically do a lot of respectful relationship management. So like, we talked with Jason, the general manager there at the Cobalt. We actually said what we were going to do. Like, we actually wrote it down in the contract, and he's like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And then we kept working through it. And then once it happened, he was so pleased at like how we did what we said we're going to do.
Yes.
And we talked to a couple different insurance companies, and we found them that would do it for us.
Wow. Because you know what? I think that's key, because I feel like there has been, you know, I say, oh, people treated us like the weird kids that were, you know, having the party when their parents were away. But I feel like I have been acting like that. I'm still acting like that, because I'm like, we're just going to do, like, we started with burlesque even, like, you know, now, you know, Cardi B is on all the major network, like, is mainstream. But back in the day, you know, we were like, we're going to do a fashion show, because me approaching somebody at a community hall and telling them that we were going to be naked just didn't feel like a feasible thing. And so that's kind of translated, I mean, and then not really being allowed to have these parties. And it just feels like I've always kind of been in the business of like supporting our practice and our art and our space where we can work and rehearse and have these costumes by kind of fibbing a bit. And it's that like I kind of don't want to do that anymore, and so it feels like I'm just like, I'm a grown ass bitch, like I'm fucking like I'm 40 too.
Well, I find it's about valuing yourself and what you bring. So like it's like we
self-esteem.
Well, we really believe that like what we're doing is helping.
We ended up having to stop yesterday because I have no concept of time.
No, she does not.
I do not. But, I really don't. It's kind of an issue. And actually, it has been the biggest ADHD issue in my life. Like, generally. Like, just not understanding how long things take. Mm-hmm. And then also knowing how long things take, but convincing myself that it's going to not take that long this time.
You know, it's cool because, like, time is very fungible in many ways. Because we can experience it at different speeds.
Yes.
And it probably doesn't even exist, but we use it to coordinate activities, right? So that's kind of strange.
Yes.
We're like, hey, our coordination is off, but time doesn't exist, so I clearly don't have to know about it. So you're already a step ahead of the game here, where you like don't understand time, or like because it doesn't exist.
I feel like people would not accept this as as an argument for why I'm...
Well, good luck arguing with time. Like, you will lose. Time just keeps hanging out. You're dead.
Okay, my argument usually is that my mom taught me to always be 15 minutes late and wear an outfit.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
She was like, this is how you are going to make people remember you.
Right, because you make an entrance, you're looking much more put together than everyone else in the room.
Absolutely.
And all the people, someone took notes on the meeting. No one even will read those notes.
I don't think I've ever been to a meeting or event or anything like first. Like, that's not a thing for me. I'm perpetually 10 minutes late.
Good. That makes sense.
I'm so happy that we're doing... Oh, this is amazing. Because I was like, I'm a little bit hungover, but not like super hungover. But my alcohol tolerance is terrible now. It's absolutely...
It's a sign of health. So.
Is it?
Yeah, because if you can't, you know, if you're like, oh, your body's like, I'm smart now. Like,
that is so great to hear.
It's actually not health. It's more like a sign of like physical intelligence. Like your body's like, I remember this stuff. Yes, it's fun. Now you're done.
Yes, it's fun. Now you're done. Yeah. And I remember one of the best things about when I first met you is that on Sunday, I didn't even realize this was a health thing at the time. I was like, oh, it's not a recreation, but it's actually, you know, you sweat things out and then they're not inside you anymore. Yeah. And doing that on Sunday was great. I mean, of course, we would be drinking the alcohol as well. Sometimes.
You gotta top it up.
Like early days. Because when did sauna sessions start?
Yeah, so it actually started before me. So it started in actually wildly the first day of this century.
The first day of the century?
Yeah.
Like January 1st, 2000?
Yeah. So it actually was made... So Carlos, he went to Trinidad in 1999.
Wait, I should do a little precursor to this. So sauna sessions is a crew of people that have these mobile saunas that are like hand built.
Yep.
And
in vehicles.
And so they're portable, and for, 23, almost 24 years.
24 years now.
People have been gathering to get together and sweat on Sunday evening in these saunas.
Yep.
And it's pretty incredible. Like, finding out about that was pretty amazing. Somebody hosts it so that there's a bathroom nearby. There's an outdoor shower. The lights are perfect. I remember when I first heard about this, and it was like, everyone's naked in the sauna together. Scandal, but you can't see anything.
Yeah, no, the lighting is all set up so that and all the angles are good.
Yeah.
So you're not like facing anyone in an awkward way.
No.
It's like on the bus or something.
Yeah. And then you guys actually made a bus as part of your company, right?
So it's a nonprofit. So it's a
Okay.
so it's basically we had a sauna bus, a sauna truck, a sauna van, a sauna tent, a sauna trailer.
How many saunas do you have now?
Well, we've actually lost a few. We don't know where they are. Like that's the level we're at now. Like we got some serious shade from a close contemporary of mine. It was like, you don't know where the sauna is,
What?
and we're like, well, it's somewhere on Gabriel Island.
That's
the level. Like a lot of people are really getting into sauna now, and like I'm like both excited and jealous that like I wish I was getting into it now, because we still do weekly sweats.
Yes.
But like it's like 24 years in, you're like, okay, it's sauna church. Like we're gonna have all the naked brethren and sistren and people coming in.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we're kind of like at that weird like mature level, which is super boring actually. Like I want to get back to like the cold plunges and excitement and pop up. I'm like, yeah, we've been doing that for a long time. Hipster kind of energy. So I'm that gross hipster who's like, oh, I'm moving on to something else, like breatharianism or whatever.
Saunas are so yesterday.
Yeah, like, but actually it's
now
like,
I'm into really cool stuff.
Like
quote unquote, really cool guy.
Silver tea.
Did you guys make money from that?
No, never.
Never. Okay. And the not-for-profit, so okay, because I remember the not-for-profit was called
Transformation Projects was the for-profit, and the BC Mobile Sauna Society is a non-profit.
Okay, and so the for-profit was the basis of
that was the event
Mural
company.
Fest. Okay, so was that that turned into Mural Fest.
That's right. And so we had a for-profit, we wound that down, and then started a new non-profit, which is the Create Vancouver Society, which runs the Mural Fest and the Winter Arts Fest and all their stuff. So
okay, sweet.
So it's a whole melange of nonprofits and for-profits, and
I mean, the nonprofit situation. I mean, I kind of wanted to talk about that because it's so like obviously it's flawed.
Right, backstage cash. Let's get on the money.
Yeah. Let's talk about the money. But I mean, before that, maybe we should have a song because I know we just got here, but you know, music is good, and we were talking about Carlos, who is one of your compatriots, colleagues,
sure.
compatriots.
Yeah, colleague. I like colleague.
Colleague.
My colleague.
Your partner in crime.
Yeah.
You guys are definitely a pair. Like when you're together, the dynamic, like you guys are greater than the sum of both of you when you're together, I think.
Yeah, we're channeling. We're part of a channeling cult.
And one of my favorite memories actually is hurtling up the Sea to Sky Highway in the sauna truck, or maybe it was on the way down that there was a problem. There may have been a brake issue. I can't remember. In one of the Japanese sauna trucks.
Oh, is this when we went to Whistler?
Yes, we went to Whistler and hung out in a storage unit, which was a loft that was made into something fabulous.
Right, that was Kelsey's Creations. Her crazy art pad.
Yeah, and did the thing that you do, which is freestyling all the time as means of creative interaction.
Oh, and then a black bear showed up.
Yes, that's right. I remember. He was just like, hey.
Right, the bear walked towards us, and we freestyled at the bear. And it was one of the greatest moments of our... Yeah, that was good.
Well, we happen to have a recording of that moment.
No, you don't, really?
There is a recording of it, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's up on SoundCloud.
Oh, I've never even...
Really? Honestly, you don't know that?
I don't think I've heard it.
Oh my God. You guys, okay, so Focus Freestyle Group on SoundCloud, there was like a mix that you guys were rapping.
Oh, we recorded it somehow.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
I mean, I hope that's the case because otherwise we're going to have to queue up a different song.
Oh,
it'll be awkward, but
that's fine. Awkwardness is the new relaxed, I think now.
But I love that. It used to be really hard for me to push through my performer to do it. Remember? Like I was like, I don't like doing it.
You were like a reticent performer, which no one will believe, but it is true. And now you are really good at it. But yeah, you were like, you have higher standards than I do. I'm like, I'll just open my mouth and.
But that's key. I mean, I think that both my brains, and as far as this is like, the creative conundrum when it comes to business and being an artist is like your creative brain, your critique brain, your performer, perfectionist brain cannot exist at the same time as your creative brain. Otherwise, nothing happens. You just this is why it takes me 8 hours to write a paragraph because the backspace just continues to happen.
Well, hells yeah. It's so much like you can't produce and manage a show and perform at it. And if you do, you will feel so tired after. And like you did that for years.
Oh, I did it for years.
Like at multiple spots.
Yeah.
But basically, you're not serving yourself or anyone when you're both on the stage and behind the stage. It's sometimes you have to because you're like, I need to make money and I'm the only person that can do it and blah, 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 blah. But like Yeah, it gets crazy.
It gets crazy. Yeah. I definitely overdid it myself. You know, the DIY.
Me too.
I was ODIY.
Oh yeah. Well, that show that the night I decided to never do it again.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I think that was pretty much my last time doing it. Was like I did that like Gorelesque bleed out like Gorelesque thing I did with like the horse and like at 121 Studios.
Oh yeah.
And like I was running that sauna party
That's
and
right.
rave.
There
and
was like that was a beautiful space over on Powell Street, right?
Yeah, and I also was performing this like gory burlesque like nude thing.
Yeah.
And running the party, and I didn't enjoy myself at all. But everyone's like, "That was an amazing." I was like, I'm so angry and sad at the end. And I was like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I'm never gonna do front and back of house ever again."
Yeah, honestly, that was a precursor to some, questionable substance use in my career.
To medicate.
I mean, also now that I know I have ADHD, I think that it was always really confusing to me that certain inebriants would cause quiet and focus in my brain.
Yep.
As opposed to other people, and everyone else was like,
yeah, everyone's tripping out, and you're like, I'm ready to write a report.
I'm like, this is great. I can actually focus on things now. But definitely, when I'm exhausted, this is the thing that I've worked with my therapist. It's an occupational hazard, and it wasn't expensive because I had assembled all of the substance users into a small area. Yeah. So I was like, this is your tax for essentially being a vending machine right now. But it was definitely like, I definitely had to look at it, is this addiction? Is this a coping mechanism? What is it? And it was just exhaustion.
Right.
Like literally that is the time when I reach for that shit, is when I'm so tired and I just can't be, I need to rest. What does Stacey, the Base Coast harm reduction side, she's like, you know what the best drug is for staying awake? I was like, what? She's like, sleeping. Sleeping. But I mean, and I'm not going to lie, like certain substances were helpful for alcohol sales, which we were talking about last night.
Yeah,
and certain other substances are not great for alcohol sales. And that used to be an issue. The issue would be, we don't want to do the kind of music, parties with the kind of music that you like, Crystal, because nobody drinks alcohol.
Yeah.
Everybody is moving sideways while standing still in slow motion. And that's not ideal for alcohol sales. And so that's
you like to play some like sort of slower tempo bass, like deep dreamy stuff, and they're like no, we need like hyperactive, like amped anxiety music.
I mean, and I think really that like the business model of like selling alcohol is just like it's on its way out, Oh,
it's I think it's been done for a while, and now it's just we're seeing it.
Yeah. And I'm excited about it because
too.
I don't think I think it's a huge problem.
Well, it also takes the focus off of what the magic is.
It does. I mean, it's not. I think it gets in the way. I think it really gets in the way a lot of times. It's like, and it's definitely there for an economic purpose. Like, it's not necessarily there because people would drink that much, But it's like, I don't know.
Well, I think it kind of artificially depresses the door fee down. So, like, if you look at your overall take in a night, right? You've got like, okay, I remember it was so hard to sell anything over $20 for like so long, like a $20 ticket.
Right.
Just recently went to 40, thank God.
Oh yeah, that's right. You were saying this.
Yeah.
We're just gonna have to wait and do the song later because this is just too good. You were saying about how there's a perceived sort of lack of value for admission, which is to me crazy because people will then turn around and spend $50
on drinks
or DoorDash or something like that, right?
Yeah,
like
or a taxi.
Yeah, exactly. But paying it to the artist at the door is like, that's expensive.
And so what's interesting is like, I think I know why. And so like, I thought about this a lot because it's like, okay, why can I not charge more tickets? Because I'd like to make it less of a pressure on the bar. Because running a bar, you have to have all this HR because you have these humans that like are going to have different skill sets and abilities. And then you have to organize them. Like if you didn't have to organize your own bar, you know how many more parties would get thrown? Like so many parties.
This is why having a killer bar manager, shout out Jesse Broccoli, and Cyrus is the key. Like my whole deal with
having a good
bar, like having somebody who just takes care of all of it. My thing is you can make the decisions, you get the agency if you have the responsibility.
Yeah.
I don't like giving someone the responsibility of setting everything up and then coming in and like overruling one of their decisions. You know, like I just think that that's shitty. So I'm like, you handle it. You're the boss. I will defer to you. You hire people that you want. Like I don't flex and make her hire people that I want. You know what I mean? Like,
no, totally. And I think that's the thing. So drinking, there's a reciprocity where you can like buy someone a drink or like buy someone a thing at the event. So you can actually show interest and support to someone who you like find interesting or want to party with. So people are saving their hard-earned capital to not spend it at the door because there's no reciprocity there. So they want to use like
no immediate gratification.
Yeah, you can't be like, hey, like, you know, buying someone a drink, like the classic, like hello. So
or tipping.
So people are like, oh, this drink, the cover fee makes it so that I can't flex as much and like interact. My interactivity is reduced.
This actually makes sense. Yeah.
So okay, well then if that's the case, we need to do, and it's kind of a simple math, is create more reciprocity within the event that's not alcohol. So like you can like buy someone cool art, like, hey, you're cool. I just bought you this piece of art.
Right.
Like, can you imagine? Like, do you want to go home with me? It's like, yes, I'm actually sober currently, and I will make that decision. And yes, I will soberly decide to go make out with you right now.
Yes.
Because you bought me art.
Yes.
Or you bought me a snack.
I would separately make out with you.
Yeah. It's like, you bought me a snack and some art.
Snacks.
Like a samosa and a watercolor. Like.
Well, and there's a lot of interaction that happens with the substance use stuff too, right?
Totally,
like that's sort of a ritual. And then there's also.
That's true, actually. Yeah. And it feels good sometimes, like a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
you know, I mean, that's kind of the point.
But options are cool, right?
Yeah, exactly. The options are
amazing.
cool. I love that idea. I mean, I feel like having the reciprocity of, you know, going and seeing the artist and not, sorry, I had an idea and I lost it. I lost the idea.
Maybe we can let's just do a thing. Let's just like.
I love that you think about stuff like this because you have like a degree in philosophy, right?
Yeah.
You have a master's in philosophy?
I'm a master of arts and letters.
That to me, that's
in
like
philosophy.
That's fucking punk rock. Like that's like.
It was cool. It was a really useless degree that gives me lots of laughs.
I love.
I mean, to be honest, the reason why I did it, number one, is because I wanted to be able to read philosophers' works.
Yeah.
So I grew up and my dad was like, had all these books. And I was like, these books are so cool. And then I wanted to understand them. I picked them up and like didn't understand them. And they were written in English. And so I was like, I want to understand it. And what's the big deal with this stuff? And it's been cool because basically what it did is it taught me not like the meaning of life or like these philosophers really had it figured out, but it's more like you can apply yourself to do something really complicated and hard and stressful, and you can realize that's not for me. I decided to not be an academic. But then when I was in grad school, I was like, I'm going to throw parties and dedicate my life to doing cool stuff, even though everyone's like, that's a really not a good...
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's like not a good plan for
that's not a really,
paying for rent.
Yeah, exactly. That's a terrible idea.
But I was like, I already did the thing where I went for 3 years to learn about these dead men who wrote this stuff and some women. They wrote this stuff and then I spent years stressing and I actually learned how to understand it.
Yeah.
To an extent. And so if I can do that, I can do something slightly smarter.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
fun.
Joy is the thing. Joy is the thing.
It's
you
a pretty
know,
good one.
like I really feel like joy is the point.
Yeah.
You know, sustaining a level of joy, and not just because I'm a dopamine fiend, but because that my brain is. Providing the dopamine is a good idea. I think that may like. Do you think that your background in academic, sort of, you know, dissertation and writing and papers and all that kind of stuff, do you think that is a huge part of your success as, you know, Vancouver Mural Festival, like just having written all these grants and getting all this corporate sponsorship and all that kind of stuff? Because for me, that feels like school. Like it feels like grant writing and proposal writing and feasibility studies and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. And it's not really something that is accessible to most people.
No.
Right? So there's like this weird thing where, of course, there needs to be some hoops to jump through, but that's a pretty freaking specific hoop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we live in a culture that doesn't value arts and culture.
Right.
So when something is undervalued, there's an extreme scarcity around resources for that thing. Right. You name it.
Right.
So like that extreme scarcity creates hyper competition, especially when something is actually super important.
Yeah.
Like you said, joy, super important. So like, for instance, like art for me is cultural memory, right?
Right.
And it's context for how I feel. Because otherwise feeling is just personal. It's like, oh, you should go to the therapist and work that out. But it's like, no, but like, why do I feel this way? Oh, because there's a system of oppression and a system of opportunities. But the opportunities are limited intensely, but the oppression, everyone gets a taste.
Right.
And then certain groups get a ton of oppression and then it gets layered on them. So like arts and culture is a way I see is the only way, in my opinion, to like create a more just society, because you can actually get the folks that are feeling those systemic oppressions. And if you can create a platform that is as just as possible, to create a space for them to actually tell their story and create cultural memory. Then that memory gets, painted on walls or on stages.
Yes.
And the other piece, the other key ingredient is not just the artwork that remembers it, but the people. So that's why you need to have good engagement in events. So the event is the thing that makes you remember, because you'll remember something because of extreme joy or extreme pain.
Yeah.
Right?
You don't remember like looking at a painting necessarily.
Unless there was like pain or joy. Right. And so that stamps it in your memory. You have to take out your notebook and be like, oh yeah, Base Coast. You have to write it down.
No.
Like I went to Base Coast. It's all I remember from like this last year. Like I don't really remember anything else.
I mean, it kind of.
Or like, do you know what I mean? Like big events. Like so, like that's why the big.
And there's something to look
event.
forward to. I mean, it just kind of like
Burning Man's like that. Like all these things, people they find their thing. Like, or it's like a surfing trip with their friends, like whatever it is. But like, so you need the intense experience from memory. And then you need the context, which is art and culture and food and things. And then if you want a good society, you need it so that everyone has a chance to get on the mic and describe their experience.
Right.
Because then you have empathy across difference.
Right.
And if you have that, you have a functioning society. The issue now is that like because arts and culture isn't valued and understood in North American or in a colonized context, it's like efficiency, making money, savings accounts, security, safety, predictability, perfection.
Yes.
Like all that's just like,
I'm sorry, my brain stopped working there.
It's like white supremacy is all I'm talking about.
Pretty much.
So like it's devoid of meaning except for its own self-propagation. So all you really need, and it's kind of simple, is the answer isn't out there, but the process is getting people the possibility to actually. Yeah, it's buzzing a bit. Hey,
it's buzzing.
Hopefully,
okay, let's.
But anyway, that's the plan, and that's why like arts and culture can be a big part of the process. There's other things too, like material access to like basic needs.
Right.
That's fucking obvious. But like that's not the fucking goal.
No.
The goal is actually abundance and creativity and beauty.
Yeah, and just like, the joy of being alive and wander and
discovery.
Yeah, exactly.
Curiosity.
I mean, that's something that I noticed was missing the last time I went to one of the big festivals that I went to. Like I hadn't gone to Shambhala in 10 years.
Right.
Because they stopped hiring me and I
stayed.
I mean,
did you hear that?
They did.
No, they did. And they made a big mistake because now the media empire has begun.
Well, hopefully I get hired again. I mean, I would like to get hired, but
well, if you're listening, which you are.
I mean, I'm sure that they would have let me do something, but I enjoy
sure.
I enjoy getting paid to do things.
I love that,
especially when, the trip is very expensive. But it was also, we were in the burlesque troupe, and the burlesque girls didn't value the music. Like, well, some of them did, but it wasn't really like going to Nelson for a weekend to party. It was not appealing to everyone in as much as it was for me. But I noticed that the sense of wonder and curiosity and adventure and spontaneity and discovery was not as present, because I think that people were on there, like people have seen it all. There's and there's no there's not a lot of, I don't want to say serendipity, but like part of the thing in Burning Man that everybody loves is that, you don't have, like, time is not there's no point of reference. You deliberately do not decide when you're going to meet up with someone because you don't know, you don't want to, you know what I mean? You don't make agreements on that. And so you're just open to whatever happens. And, even just people's outfits, right? Like, it just, I know we're doing this buzzing. You know what we should do? Let's just cut and go to...
let's go to a little commercial break.
Yeah, let's go to a little commercial break.
Sponsors.
Well, I want to hear the bear rap. Hopefully we'll find it. So this is either going to be the bear rap or another focus freestyle moment with Carlos and our fabulous guest,
Adrian Sinclair.
Or a Dr. Bronner's commercial. We're not sure.
I'll back these guys up with a little intros.
All right, everybody give it up for Dunks on the decks. All right, so we're a freestyle focus group, FFG. My name is Professor Prawns, Count Snacky, Count Snackula, a.k.a. the Sea Wizard, over here on my left. We're just going to start it off. We like to invite anyone and all types of beings, animals, crustaceans, to come up on the mic, human beings, to spit whatever's on their mind. Anyone can freestyle. It's just about speaking and letting it rip. So here we go. Yo, I'm Professor Prawns. Yo, I like to freestyle over rap songs. Check it out, yo, I like the guys and girls in thongs. I know that you like to strut around naked, but I know you never fake it, cause you just straight from the ticket. Yo, the ticket is the ticket, talk, tickle. The phone is on the ripple of the raver from the water. And yo, there's some trolls and some Eeyores and some crack crazy people. And then they get crazy, touch my tweaking evil. My name is Professor Prawns. Yo, I like to hang out. I tell you what it's all about. Some dirt in front of me on my chimney. Gonna smoke that like a brick and gonna throw it through a hick because someone drives through here with a big Tonka truck. What the fuck? I was just getting my drug on. I was getting high. Yo, a crazy guy, and I just wished to fly. It was a big mosquito. Ow, yo, it hurt me. It was needle. The blood flew everywhere, and I got in my underwear. The blood is crazy, it flows just like my microphone. I keep on a pantyhose over my face so I don't cause a disgrace, cause I don't want him to know that I came to this place, cause it's utopia. And if you tell people where that is, they'll all come over here just like birds on Cheese Whiz. They'll try to eat that shit up like it was ketchup, but I don't want to touch that cause I got a facial touch-up, cause I got a manicure by a nice person on the beach today. It was super sweet, I like the rhymes I sprayed. So it's freestyle and this is Count Snackula. He's rap sprayed crazy like he was spectacular.
Oh, they call me Count Snacky, here's the beat, yo, and I'm gonna give you some freestyle words to eat, cause you know I like to eat, that's why they call me Snacky. Sometimes the shit that I say on the mic is kinda wacky like the things that you think up when you get up in the morning, yo, and then you think of horning it, maybe you gotta take off your pants, and that way you can go to the beach with the naked people, do a dance around, work on your tan, cause you don't. People just won't understand if you take off your clothes and you got those white lines. They won't think that you're quite so fine as the person with the overall singular tone. Yo, they be calling you up when you're at home. Do you wanna go to the beach today? Cause I hope you don't have to work so you can now come out to play. Yo, well, that's what I like to do with my crew. So Professor Prawns, what you like to do?
Snacky, I like to rhyme with you. That's what I like to do. I'll rhyme till my tongue is black and motherfucking blue. If it is beat up on the top of my mouth, I will walk around till I go from north to south. I will walk around naked inside of these trees. Yo, the freestyle intelligently. Yo, we're Snacky and Prawns, we're just hanging out on lawns. We're keeping it trimming cause we wanna go on. We got the nice gardening of our pubic hair because we like to wash up the dragon in the dragon's lair. Yo, the little slithery slack, you came out and you wanted to talk back from Chilliwack to Abbotsford, Fraser Valley. I'm a nerd, I got the crazy inebriated style. I'm a little high, but I'm also really nice guy, and sometimes I can rap on the fly. Freestyle, yo, but this is the Snacky man. We can rap and yo, we're from Uzbekistan or whatever. Yeah, right.
I know that VMF is really well known for getting these insane sponsorship deals, like really, really big sponsorship deals. With beverages and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And is that something that was difficult? Like for me, I find that there like a lot of artists really have a resistance around corporate sponsorship. Like what's your position on that?
Yeah, well, I guess like to zoom out a bit to give like my own personal context on this, like when I walk around a city,
yeah,
I'm kind of like a sports fan for small business.
Okay.
So like I walk around and I'm like, oh yeah, you can do it. Like kind of to like I literally walk by every storefront on Commercial Drive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can do it. Like that's like literally how my brain works. And I'm excited that like this pho place is gonna like blow up and it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
And this like new sushi spot's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is like, well, who creates business? People, right? And so, you know, people have different kinds of values though, right? But ultimately they're trying to like, you know, feed their families and like make money. and like, make it somehow,
Yeah.
Artists are the same way. In fact, artists a lot of times don't realize that they're business people too. They're small businesses.
Oh,
It
yes.
takes them a long time, and it took me a long time to realize, like, as an artist, like, oh yeah, I'm a small business.
Yeah.
But you realize earlier if you're a producer. So I've thrown, I don't know, like I've probably thrown over 80 events or something myself.
Yes.
And when you do that, you're like, oh, I'm a small business person. But artists who are like, talent, they're like maybe not thinking right away of themselves as a small business.
Yeah. Well, because again, creative business, those are two, one thing creates the thing and the other thing evaluates it.
So what's really interesting is like, so it's the same thing with sponsors. So zooming right back into what we're talking about, I really think of like, I'm working with business people or I'm working with all artists. Like business people are creative people are business. Like I actually don't see them as like a crazy binary. And I think these binaries are like understandable for language. We need to have binaries so we can talk to each other. Good, bad, and blah blah blah. But in terms of like values aren't binary. There's gray area, and then there's compromises you make because for a greater good, and you have to decide where your line is.
Right.
So for example, like I don't know, like Phillips Brewing, like they were a startup in year 2000.
Yes.
Now they're giant.
Yes.
And they just got bought out. I'm excited for them.
Yes.
Because they got bought out by a company who owns a bunch of restaurants, and they got bought out, and now they're even more awesome.
Right.
Granville Island used to be local. Now they're owned by Molson for the last like 5 or 6 years.
Right.
So are they no longer a good sponsor because they're not local? Like, so that's the interesting question, right? So where is their line? So it can't actually be about the mechanics of the business. It has to be about the values.
Okay.
And the people.
Right.
And then also like their overall, like, are they destroying the climate or do they have,
Yeah, what's the impact?
do they hire only white men?
Yes.
Like easy stuff. Easy. So for us, it's like what I want to do. My goal is to get artists paid.
Yes.
Because they're a business.
Yeah.
And I see, and I don't believe in the artist as like as the monk or the priest who like takes offerings and donations. It's like, no, like I want artists to get paid like professionals or as like up and coming professionals. And like, how do you get them paid? Well, you don't get them paid with grants.
No.
Grants basically are project based. So a lot of people don't realize that grants are just money that shows up and you can spend them on art and stuff.
But you don't
it's
really
like,
spend it on people.
it's very restrained as to what it can be. It's like, this is the materials and this much can be spent on people.
Yeah.
And this, like, usually 5% is admin, which is out of the whole thing. Think about that. Like we get lots of grants, but we can only spend a tiny amount on our overhead. So you need sponsorships to pay for staff, our overhead, our lights, our rent, our insurance. And so sponsorships are absolutely key. And so if you want to pay people well and you want to keep staff and honor their work and give them health benefits, which we do, you need to get sponsorships. You can't use grants to do that because it's not legal. It's not moral to do that because the grants, they say it's allowed. If you follow the rules, you have to not spend that grant money on your overhead. Otherwise, you are doing it wrong.
Right.
And you will be in trouble at some point.
Yes.
And the other piece is straight up like a donation.
Right.
But sponsorships basically are interesting because you still have to do fulfillment. So you still have to, for instance, like put a bunch of marketing copy out.
Yeah,
you need to like, you have to spend a lot of that sponsorship back on the product. It's a deal. It's a trade.
It's a trade.
Right. So yeah, I feel good about it. There's edges that like there's certain people and certain organizations that people won't take sponsorship or like deals from, and that's their own personal decision. So like, like we won't take money from mining. We won't take money from anything that destroys the planet in any way. From anyone who has like racist policies or like is known to be an outspoken misogynist or racist or things like that.
Okay, so
but basically it's like we do take money from developers. We don't take money from them because that's how people say it. We do projects for them. So for example,
I'm glad that we're getting into it. We're getting into it.
No, it's
Let's
good.
get into it.
Oh, I love these conversations because they're complicated.
Yeah.
So the thing that like I'll just like address the question in the room, which is just always floating around with public art because that's what we do. Is public art. Most of it, maybe 90% of it, occurs on private land.
Yes.
Right? There's very few pieces of public art that are on public land. But what's public land? The Queen owns it, apparently.
Yes,
So it's
right.
like state land, right?
Yeah.
So like, is everyone down with the state? Like, is everyone down with the politics of colonization? So basically all land is land is where public art happens.
Yes.
Outside.
Yeah.
So outside in the world, you got a situation of a bunch of people with interests that they want to further.
Okay.
And we happen to be in a capitalist society. And like I said, you want to get people paid.
Yes.
So what you end up doing is you're like, okay, well, who owns all this land? Developers.
Yeah.
We want to put art up on this land that is stolen land from the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people.
Yes.
What opportunities should we create to put stuff on this land that's been stolen? We want to make sure that emerging artists, local artists, and Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh artists, and people of color, and women, and queer folks, and disabled folks get to put art up on this land that's been stolen.
Yes.
Okay, so no one disagrees with that.
No.
How do you do it? Well, who owns this land in terms on paper? That's what's going on. And so we find people, and there are developers who are doing really good work and actually care a lot about these issues. But they're not going to put their hand up and say that, because everyone's going to point at them and be like, you don't really believe in those things. You're a developer.
Okay.
So we live in a city where it's like, oh, you don't believe in that. You don't actually care about those things.
Right. Because people don't like the effect that, the gentrification and the upwardly building buildings, like people don't like that. So they have decided that developers are bad.
Yeah. And it's just unfortunate, because whenever you decide a whole section of people or a whole class of people are all bad, you know what goes on with that shit.
Yeah.
It's like that nothing good happens there.
No.
Like basically you just create division and anger, and like a lot of it is justified because there are really, really bad policies that allow people who are profit motivated to do things that they shouldn't be able to do.
Yes.
Which is like not consult with communities, like push people out of their homes because they're just doing like wild, crazy stuff that like is totally out of control. Well, guess who we have to hold accountable for the overall plans? That's our politicians.
Yeah.
And the people who make policy and plans, because developers are going to develop.
Yeah.
And like basically, like we need to hold them accountable with the law.
Yes.
And it's not easy, but ultimately as an arts organization, we really just need to find partners who we can work with, who will fund the projects that we want to create in public space, quote unquote public space, which is mostly privately owned.
Yeah.
And we can either decide to do that or not.
Right.
So you can either decide to throw that party or create that art or not get it funded at all. And just ask. So most mural fests out there, a lot of them, not anymore so much, but when we started, we were paid with exposure bucks.
Okay, so this is...
They weren't paid. They're like, oh, this is a good opportunity for you. You'll get work out of this.
Right.
We have never done that. We have always paid people quite well.
See, this is huge because, there is an issue where, there's a lot of festivals, we're in BC, festival culture, Shambhala, basically, like these big festivals, I mean, they're considered transformative, and in some cases, I mean, I don't believe this to be true necessarily with Base Coast, but like there's some leveraging around, social currency, or having a trade show, like I think like that Shambhala is basically a trade show. It's kind of something that I've heard or have said that, you spend money, you invest money in going and playing the show, like a lot of local peeps do, and then you get booked the year round. But, someone's making money over there. Someone's making, hopefully, I mean, I don't actually know for sure, but there was this school of thought that somebody told me where the idea being that you get a better vibe if the people who are there really want to be there, and so paying people too much.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah. This idea that if you pay people, enough that they become complacent. Huh. Like, do you think that that's...
I've never thought of it. I have to think about that. It doesn't seem to ring true for me.
Yeah. I feel like...
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said about earning, like working towards a goal and achieving the goal of being well recognized for what you're doing financially. I also just think that it's important for other people to put those things in place, because someone like me, like I, has struggled with self-esteem for a long, long time. This ADHD diagnosis has been a huge game changer for me, but I also just I'm not really good at being a capitalist for myself. Like I shouldn't say those things out loud, because words are magic words, and I am becoming better at, trying to specifically get paid to make content online, because that's what I want to do.
Hells yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's awkward. You know, it's like it's a new world. I haven't done it.
We have to work together though. Like we have to work together as people because we can't all be solo brands. Like there's not enough mental space for people that every single person is a brand. Every single person is like a thing that needs to be marketed.
Yeah.
Like that's where we're at now because social media is about like isolating people into their own, like Adrian Sinclair is a brand online.
Right.
Like it's not like, no. Like, so like I've been lucky from like where I'm, you know, how I've been raised and the people that I've met and the privilege that I have to not have to do that. Like I don't need to post on social media to like have a job.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's crazy privilege.
Yeah.
Like I was lucky that I met the right people and had the right opportunities and like the things that felt a certain way and like of course I crazy hustle and I work way too much.
Yeah.
But like I'm not bragging about that. That's a bad habit, you know? But yeah, like basically like you should not have to do that, but that's what is being asked of everyone, especially young people. Like now it's like I'm seeing it like everyone's just walking around like they're a brand ambassador for themselves. And guess what that does? That just makes it so that someone who's an amazing rapper, like, but isn't super left-brained and is crazy good at planning and like scheduling. So they're like spending all this time on scheduling and planning and stressing and then and medicating and then getting fucking overwhelmed and then they're rapping, which is like they're God's gift to them, you know. So like people
I don't
need
know
to get
anyone
together.
like that.
People need to no. I might be talking about someone right across from me. I keep doing that though. It's not even on purpose. It's just but so I think like people need to get together. They need to work together.
Yeah.
We need to help each other.
I mean,
like,
and that's how the music industry used to be, right?
It could be in the future. It could be as well.
Of course, there's, you know, there was a lot of gatekeeping and bad behavior that happened.
There's definitely some big improvements.
Yes, there's been some big improvements. I mean, but but having everyone have to be
But
sort
that's
of
not an
their
improvement.
own.
No.
Yeah, their own everything is, it's just not possible.
It's almost like, I mean, the most successful things I've seen in the last little while is like start your own record label if you want to be a musician, so you can bring people together and start an umbrella for those people. Like
this is I'm on this tip right now.
Yeah, like Drew Young is a good example. So Drew Young is one of the founders also of Mural Festival. So Drew Young, Andrea Curtis, Dave Rotesi, Gabe Hall, all of us like got together to like start this crazy thing.
Right.
And you know, we all worked full time for years to make it happen.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that wasn't one person doing it.
No.
And Drew Young is a good example. Drew Young wanted to, like, he finished school and he was like, you know, he's a painter. He's trained as an oil painter, but like, where are the painting opportunities for him? He doesn't want to do condo art. And he likes lowbrow, kind of like bad boy, kind of cool. Like, I don't know. I'm already using the wrong curation of words. I'm not a curator.
He's not licensing stuff to winners.
He wants to do cool shit.
Exactly.
He wants to do cool fucking shit.
Yeah.
And he's an amazing painter. And he's not, you know, he didn't start out as like a good capitalist.
Yeah.
So what he did is he started this thing called Snag, and at the Cobalt, right?
Yeah.
So every Tuesday for it was like 5-6 years straight. Every Tuesday, he invited all his people. He's like, "Yo, come on down to the Cobalt or the American."
Yeah.
And we're gonna have artists, and you can watch them paint, and then they'll raffle it. So even someone with $2 could win $1,000 painting.
And this is the event, and it's the reciprocity, and it's like all of the things that make it impactful.
The community gets built, and then we're like, let's do a mural festival, and then there already was this ready-built community of people that's how we popped up so big.
Yes.
We did 40 murals because like, where these people come from? It's like, well, there's thousands of artists in Vancouver, but you know what? It doesn't matter. Numbers don't matter. What matters is community. The community is the thing.
That's the thing.
So that's it, right? And so like B-Side's a great example.
Oh yeah.
This is a perfect example of the same concept.
Exactly.
You know?
I mean, and that's really my motivation as a person for why I'm trying to, make a space happen.
That's right. Yeah,
right?
and you create spaces. That's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
You're like, how does, like, people are like, oh yeah, burlesque, that was cool. It's like, do you know how that actually started? Because people made spaces.
Yes.
Like,
correct.
Sweet Soul, Dollhouse, like all these spaces.
And that's why, there's a part of me that's sometimes like, okay, if I was being strictly like profit motivated, it would be smarter for me to take advantage of everyone else's spaces.
Yes.
Instead of trying to create my own.
That's right.
Right? That would be smarter. I don't have to, try to spend, $1 bazillion making something like this happen. I could just do the things in other places. But the issue for me is that, much like my community happened because we all like a certain type of music, for me, it's important to have others who share, my values and that I want to have fun with. And, you got to create a center for those people to show up, And I mean, I'm not saying that those centers aren't around here, but I'm not seeing exactly what I want to, hold space for.
Where you want to be,
Yeah.
And I think that's the story of like every like successful is the wrong word, but anyone who finds a way to create value in arts and culture is like you're not seeing what you need, and that's the best way to be driven.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not seeing something for me.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is you end up actually creating a place for a bunch of other people that also were looking for that.
Yeah, I mean, like if I wanted, I could not live in Vancouver. I could make digital content from, wherever.
Like some raft.
I'm using
Starlink
be
on some raft.
Be a nomad, or you know what I'm saying?
Thanks to Starlink, I'm on the back of a sea turtle right now, and I'm creating funny memes.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not what I'm here for.
That's a whole other podcast, though.
Yeah, that is a whole other
No, there's
podcast.
nothing wrong with it, no. But it's fun to make fun of.
Yeah, it is. Okay. The other thing, too, is that I don't love creating in a vacuum because other people are good at things that I'm not good at, and vice versa, I mean, I wanted to play one of my unreleased tracks here.
Oh, yeah, I guess we're out of time, too.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. So we'll end
Time
with...
flies when you're on Crystal's podcast. Backstage Cash.
Thank you so much. I mean, I can't even, I'm so happy
It's been fun
to have this develop, it's even the developer conversation, because,
I love that conversation.
Has caught some shit for that.
And rightfully so. We've made some bad decisions. By the way, we've made some bad decisions.
Yeah.
So, but we mostly stand by, like our strategy, which is like pay artists.
Yeah, and that doesn't. Yeah.
By the way, paying artists, we without exact details, we've been doing lots of research on what we've been doing. We've paid out about $4 million in artist fees alone since 2016.
Wow.
And guess what? None of that money is grant money.
That is.
So it's net new cash for the sector.
Yeah.
So as much as people are like, hey, why are you like doing, and we're not even taking money from developers, by the way, just what we're actually doing is doing projects that they're paying for.
Yes, I understand.
So it's like, but a lot of people think, oh, you're getting developer like sponsorship. No, it's commission-based artworks that are on their buildings.
Right.
So it's
they're
a big
paying
difference.
people. It's a big difference than having signage.
It's not like,
from like Coca-Cola
yeah,
or
it's not
whatever.
it's not like they're giving us like an envelope of cash, or like, here's 10,000.
No.
And then just like do gangster shit.
No, you're brokering.
We're actually just like doing work.
Yeah.
For, and we actually love doing that work because we can pay artists really well.
I love it. And you know what? I as far as the festival thing goes and everything, like I understand why people want to be in a space where they're not getting bombarded with signage. I think there is a huge value.
Well, come to our festivals, you will see almost no branded signage.
At Vero Festival.
Yep. There's very little brand.
Huh.
Like there's no our festival doesn't have a presenting sponsor.
So people
like if you look
think
at our festival,
that sponsorship means branding at the event, but it doesn't have to.
That's right.
That is huge.
Like look at our festival. Is it presented by TD? No. Look at every other arts festival in the city. They're presented by a bank or by
cigarettes or
whatever you name it. Yeah. Well, cigarettes was the 80s.
Yeah,
I wish we get that cigarette money. Just joking. No, we don't.
No.
But like our festival is not presented by. It's just the Vancouver Mural Festival, and we've kept it that way because no one's given enough of a good alignment with us to actually have. It's called a lockup. Okay. So like in the slang, it's a lockup, and so every time your name gets mentioned, you always say like, "Tell us World of Science."
Right. Of course. Yeah.
If you say something with a lockup, and so you have to. That's a full sponsorship.
Yeah.
And that is cash with some marketing.
Yeah.
But we haven't got value for that, so we decided to not do that. So, but if anyone wants to. We've been looking for a long time, but we'll only do that if we get the right fit.
Yeah, if you get the right fit.
And we are looking for that, so always.
Yeah.
But it's like, so that's the thing. There's not brand everywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be brand everywhere. Because I think that is a misconception. And I think that there could be more money in these festivals. Like, You know, it's just
create experiences. Like the new school sponsorship style is like it's experience creation, co-creation with the brand. So you create a really cool experience that the brand can tell stories about online. You do not put your brand everywhere.
No.
If you put your logo everywhere, people can be like, this is.
It's too obvious.
This is
That's
like,
not how marketing
gross.
works anymore.
No, it's like they want to be able to share content. You create content with them and they share it and they tell stories about it.
Yeah.
And that's way better.
That is way better.
Yeah. So.
Well, thank you so much for being on the program.
Yeah.
I'm always so grateful for you. You've always been such an encourager, and you just have these amazing ideas. And Vancouver is really lucky. I mean, or the place that we call Vancouver is really lucky to have you.
Well, I'm so happy to be here, and I'm gonna start the Backstage Cash fan club. I think.
Oh.
I think it needs a fan club.
I love you so
Okay.
much. Okay, we'll do an unreleased track.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Think to go up, don't to go sideways. Driving past the 3rd bridge onto Paradise Highways. Stop before we get there, saving some for sunrise. Remembering the good times, seems like they were the best times. Pulling up into summer like we earned it every weekend that it rained before. Rolling out all the dusty ass equipment that we could've used a little more. Find the most level grounds, find if it's lands a bit. Nobody's here to be feared, everybody's friends out here. Get it with the chainsaw stars, never seen it get so deep. Never seen it pause, never seen smile so broad. No better cause, anybody hot just falls. Dippy dip pelvis sings, follow your story string. Every little leaf in your eyes just stink. Never heard sounds in your mind so slick. Every last box in your heart gets ticked. Every small piece that you need just click. Gotta skip jump to the hot and sick. Suddenly answer seems to sing. Start to go up, dancing on the high wires. Hit me with the last one, glad we saved it for the sunrise. Sitting by the fire pit, catch a glimpse of daylight. Trying to keep it positive, as though it wasn't finite. And the mist on the river holds us steady as we tumble in the deep clay. And the twinkle of the fairy lights dim on the cedar-lined pathway. Did I just see some wings? Maybe I'm seeing things. Definitely a pack of gnomes helping me pack up and get settled into the tragic but necessary journey home. Back into the city smoke, twisted up for the road. Light a big split for you to hold. Hold it. Never gonna let that go, no matter what the week might hold. Even if the future's told, no matter what the hell unfolds. Everyone's still in the dawn of the mouth of the river, inventing the stories that I will have told. How many cars at Brome? I don't wanna take too long. Let's go. Think to go up, don't to go sideways. Driving past the 3rd bridge onto Paradise Highways. Trees are wrapped in sweaters, like they're hugging us the whole way. Remembering the good times, it may have been the best times.